Do you avoid doing your eye makeup because you feel like you just never learned how to do it and you don't know how to use eyeshadows? Well, in this video, I'm gonna go over my top tips on how to improve your eyeshadow. If you're a busy professional, mom, or both like me, you don't always have the time to spend perfecting your look. My name is Megan Brown and I'm a professional makeup artist, and I help women understand how to enhance their features while looking natural in a minimal amount of time. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell to be notified every time I release a new video. This is the look that I'm going to be using to help break down the tips that I find that are the most important when practicing eye makeup. Let's dive in. Tip 1 is all about creating longevity. So if your eyeshadow has a tendency to crease, I have a few different options for you. When it comes to creating longevity within your eye makeup, it all comes down to how you prep. Avoid putting any kind of eye cream or moisturizer on the lid of your eye. Option 1 is using your concealer on top of the lid and then setting it with loose powder. When I apply concealer on top of my entire lid, I am using a very minimal amount, and I'm gonna do this to help cut any discoloration. So if you have more blue undertones on your eyelid, you're going to want to use a more peachy undertone concealer in this area. After I apply a sheer amount of concealer on my eyelid, I'm just gonna take a little bit of loose powder on my brush and just set that area. This is going to act like an eyeshadow primer, especially for those of you that don't have a tendency of creasing but want a little bit more pop with your color. Option 2 is using an eyeshadow primer. Now, my favorite, hands down, is the NARS Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base. They have this in several different shades. This is the clear formula, but they have other shades to work with depending on the look that you're going for. If your eyeshadow tends to crease, no matter what you do, an eyeshadow primer is definitely something that you want to throw into the mix. Now, you can also use this when you're using any cream eyeshadow to help that from creasing as well. This is going to help everything stay in place. My disclaimer about using eyeshadow primer is that it does make your blending time significantly shorter, because once you apply a product, you only have a small amount of time to blend it before it will not move. So for those of you that are going to use an eyeshadow primer, you want to do basically the same application technique as I did with the concealer. You're going to want to tap on top of the entire lid and make sure that you have an even amount of distribution in that area. Tip 2 is having the right brushes. I wanted to bring up brushes at the beginning of this video because they are so important. If you don't have the right tools, it's going to make doing makeup significantly harder. You really don't need any more than 3 to 4 brushes to create a beautiful eye makeup. And if you're looking for specific recommendations, go ahead and check out the video that I created on my top makeup brush recommendations. And for self-application, you really only need a few. Tip number 3, build color and shape with your creams first. Creams are always going to look more natural on the skin when you start with them with your eye makeup. So let me show you a couple examples of that. Starting with the Makeup Forever Aqua Resist Color Pencil in the color Iron, which is a gray tone color. I am going to go ahead and start off with tight lining. I don't tight line every time I do makeup, but it has been a go-to as of late. I'm going to go ahead and just blend this all out so that I can fix it. I'm gonna go ahead and just switch to a bigger soft blending brush that does not have any product on it, but just to help blend out that outer line. If you don't have super steady hands, this step is perfect because all you're doing is just blending out the cream, and we're just gonna layer on top of it. Next, I'm gonna use Nude Sticks Magnetic Matte Eye Color in the color Taupe, and I'm just gonna layer this slightly on top of the liner that I just applied. This Nude Sticks pencil and the Makeup Forever pencil are both long wearing products, so I have to be really quick with my blending. You're not gonna have much time to blend it if you don't do it right away. I just applied the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in the color Infinite Sand, and I did this on my waterline to help open up my eyes and create a little bit of brightness. Tip number 4 is add eyeshadow. I did most of the work with my eyeliners to make my eyeshadow application that much easier. I am going to be using 2 different palettes by Viseart. One is the Petite Matte palette. I actually don't know how to pronounce the word, so I'm not going to, but these are the colors, and I am loving this palette right now. First, I am going to take a smudge brush, grab the purple shadow, and put it on both sides of the brush. And in order to help prevent eyeshadow fallout, I'm going to tap the brush to get a majority of the shadow off. I am going to layer this at the base of my lid, and I can either tap at the base or I can place and drag. And I'm doing this to help create more depth, and I'm using this purple color to help enhance my eye color. Do you see how that created depth between the two eyes, and all that is one eyeshadow. Now with that same brush, I haven't put any product on. I'm just gonna lightly blend right on top of it to help blend it all together. Next, I'm gonna take my Viseart Neutral Matte Palette, and I want there to be a pop of contrast from dark to light. So I'm gonna use this lighter tone shadow. If you have a medium to dark complexion, you can use more of these peachy tones, and if you need to get something in between, don't be afraid to mix in between your shadows. If you have discoloration around your eyes, you need to color correct that first, because this will just look ashy on top of any discoloration without doing the color correcting. I am gonna go ahead and pack my eyeshadow with this brush. I'm gonna use it a little differently than I normally would, and that means I grabbed the product, dusted off the fallout, and I'm going to press onto the lid instead of swiping back and forth, which you'll see me do in just a minute. It's important to not apply too much eyeshadow at once. You can always add more, but it's really hard to take away, so try to just build your intensity each step at a time as needed. Next, I'm gonna take this medium tone shadow, mix it with this peachy tone. This time I'm gonna use the soft blending brush the way it's meant to be used, which would just be softly blending and putting on a very sheer amount of color. So first tap my hand, and then I'm going to look straight ahead to help me know exactly where to place the shadow. And I'm gonna apply it right where my brow bone meets my crease. Now, for those of you with hooded lids, you will want to do the same thing where you just place the brush right above where your crease would normally be and go back and forth with slightly darker tone than your actual skin tone. Tip number 6 is mix, match your textures and finishes. Don't be afraid to mix and match your textures when it comes to your eyeshadows. In general, there's some rules to kind of follow depending on where you are at what stage of life to make your makeup application look its best. Shimmer acts like a magnifying glass, so if you are wanting to avoid bringing attention to any kind of crepiness or fine lines on your eyes, you'll want to stick with more matte. But if you want to do a little bit of shimmer, I recommend taking your ring finger, grabbing whatever shimmer it is that you're wanting to use, and apply it right above the iris of your eye. That way, you again have contrast. You have matte shadows next to a shimmer, which is popping. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. Do you prefer the matte side as of right now or the shimmer side? What do you think? All in all, mixing your textures will create a more interesting and dynamic look. If you're wanting to know a little bit more about when to use shimmers, when to use mattes, where to place them, where to avoid them, you can check out my 9 makeup mistakes that are making you look older. Tip number 6 is blending. You need to learn how to blend your eyeshadows. If you go to my brush video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can see the example that I give of how you can practice on your hand before actually doing it to your eyes. Anyone that doesn't have the most steady hand has the ability to still create a beautiful eye makeup. It's just about having the right tools and products to do so and to make your life easier. And if you've enjoyed this video so far, please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. I always love to hear from you. So if you've made it to this point of the video, I want to encourage you to practice your eyeshadow. Everyone always wants to get better at doing their eye makeup, but they don't really understand that you have to put in the practice to get better. So use these tips that I've laid out for you to help improve your eyeshadow game. I always like to think of makeup as this experiment, an equation. When you put certain products together, they add up to create an end result, which is why it's so important to experiment with all of those different variables. And don't get discouraged if your eye makeup doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to. It's all a learning lesson. So the next day, move forward and try again. To finish off, I'm gonna go ahead and use the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. I love this mascara. It's a lengthening. I prefer lengthening over volumizing. Mascara is like a whole nother thing that I'm not even gonna go into in this video. Finishing off my look with a lipstick by NARS. This is in the color Rock. And that's it for my top tips on how to improve your eyeshadow. If you found this video helpful, I have a free video series on how to hack your makeup. You can check that out listed in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. As a quick reference, this is what my eye makeup looks like right in front of the window with using natural daylight. And this is what my makeup looks like in direct sunlight. It is still very natural looking, which is the key to a beautiful makeup application in my opinion. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Oh, I hope that was not like that the whole time. That'll drive me crazy.